Let us pray. Almighty God, in these turbulent and uncertain times, use our lawmakers to reopen the government. Inspire them to give you, our nation and world, sacrificial service. Lord, give them the wisdom to persevere through the difficult, to stay calm when facing the irritating, and to experience your peace even when things go wrong. Inspire them to be helpful to the challenged, kind to the needy, and sympathetic to those whose hearts are bruised by life's setbacks beyond their control. Grant our senators wisdom, courage, and perseverance for the living of these days. We pray in your merciful name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will read a communication to the Senate.
Washington, D.C., November 8, 2025, to the Senate. Under the provisions of Rule 1, Paragraph 3 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, I hereby appoint the Honorable John R. Curtis, a senator from the state of Utah, to perform the duties of the chair. Signed, Chuck Grassley, President pro tempore.
Under the previous order, the leadership time is reserved. Under the previous order, the Senate will be in a period of morning business, with the senators permitted to speak therein for up to 10 minutes each. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I understand there is a bill at the desk that is due for a second reading.
The Leader is correct. The clerk will read the title of the bill for the second time.
S3166, a bill to rescind unused COVID funding and reduce the deficit.
Mr. President, in order to place the bill on the calendar, the provisions of Rule 14, I would object to further proceeding.
Objection is heard. The bill will be placed on the calendar.
Mr. President, I move to proceed to calendar number 168, H.R. 5371.
Clerk will report.
Motion to proceed to calendar 168, H.R. 5371, an act making continuing appropriations and extensions for fiscal year 2026 and for other purposes.
Mr. President, yesterday we finally heard Democrats entertain the notion of reopening the government. It only took them 38 days. Why in the days before, progressives were urging Democrats to prolong the shutdown in perpetuity? One House Democrat said, and I quote, "There would be hell to pay if Senate Democrats don't let events play out," end quote. And so I'm glad to see Democrats, after 38 days, back down from the maximalist and frankly insane position they've held since September. The Democrat leader's proposal is a non-starter for the Republican majority. The Democrat leader wants to believe that this is a, quote, simple proposal, that it is some sort of compromise, but it is not. He's talking about throwing tens of billions more taxpayer dollars at a program that even Democrats admit has failed to lower health care costs. The American people are tired of Washington taking their hard-earned money and spending it on costly government programs that fail to follow through on their promises. Of course, that's what Democrats have been doing for years with Obamacare. They passed Obamacare 15 years ago without a single Republican vote. And in that time, Democrats' signature health care law has failed to do what Democrats promised. If you like your health insurance, you can keep it. Not true. If you like your doctor, you can keep him or her. Not true. Premium costs will go down. Not true. And actually, the opposite is true. They keep going up. Obamacare drove premium prices higher. So in 2021, in the Democrats' American Rescue Plan Act, a bill best known for setting off a years-long inflation crisis, Democrats created these Biden bonuses, further papering over the higher premium costs under Obamacare with bigger taxpayer subsidies. Again, they did that without a single Republican vote. And then in another partisan bill in 2022, they extended the subsidies through the end of this year. Democrats chose the expiration date. They created this cliff. And now they want to blame Republicans for their mess. Give me a break, Mr. President. Republicans are not about to further burden taxpayers by blindly extending a flawed program. The Democrats' proposal is just more of the same, masking rising premiums and padding insurance companies' profits with more taxpayer dollars. The Democrat leader's proposal is a non-starter. There's still only one path out. It's a clean funding extension. The House has already passed a clean funding extension. The President supports one and would sign it into law immediately. We're only a handful of votes away from passing one right here in the Senate, Mr. President, a bill that has been sitting at the desk now for 38 days. We reopen, and then we can start talking about addressing the health care mess that Democrats created. Mr. President, I know that Democrats know this. Just yesterday, the Democrat whip came to the floor to say something that I've been waiting for a Democrat to say for a long time. He said that the first thing we need to do is reopen the government, then address the cost of health care and advance appropriations bills. I've been saying that for about 6 weeks now. And I think that's exactly what we need to do today. And so I hope the Democrat whip and others in his caucus will join the 3 Democrats who have been supporting a clean continuing resolution, the only bill that can actually end the shutdown. Mr. President, I'm glad to see that after 38 days, Democrats are finally warming up to the idea that their shutdown can't go on forever. And I urge my colleagues to support a clean continuing resolution so we can start a real discussion to address their health care mess, get back to the regular appropriations process, and above all, finally provide relief to the American people. Mr. President, I yield the floor, and I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks.
I'm going to write that down. Flower needs the rain. Mr. President,
Majority Whip.
I ask unanimous consent that the quorum call be vitiated.
Without objection.
Mr. President, yesterday, Chuck Schumer, Minority Leader of the United States Senate, came to the floor with his most recent ransom note. Of course, it wasn't serious. It's dead on arrival. Senator Schumer is demanding that the U.S. government send a check directly to the insurance companies of America for the tune of tens and tens and tens of billions of dollars, right from the government, mainlined into the bank accounts of the insurance companies of America. Chuck Schumer actually cuts the people, the American people, the taxpayers, out of the process. The people who are waiting for food, the people who are waiting for paychecks, the people who are protecting us, cuts them out completely. Nope, direct money, Chuck Schumer, U.S. government, into the bank accounts of the insurance companies of America. Think about it. Direct payment, U.S. government to insurance companies, American people having absolutely nothing to say about how that money is spent. That's what Chuck Schumer wants. No accountability. What he said is if the Republicans will not send that $30 billion to insurance companies, and it may be more than that, actually, if you do all the calculations, the Democrats are ready to just keep the government closed, no paychecks, no food stamps, no military getting paid, nothing. Mr. President, this is a true reflection of the failure of Obamacare. Since Obamacare was passed by Democrats, and not a single voter, not a single Republican voted for it in the House or the Senate, Democrats alone, the costs of health care in this country have skyrocketed. You know what, Mr. President? So have the stock prices of the insurance companies. The average Obamacare premium has gone up by 221% since Obamacare passed. Remember when President Obama said that Obamacare would actually bring down prices? He said premiums would decrease by $2,500 apiece. It was a direct lie to the American people, and I believe Barack Obama knew it. He didn't seem to care. He was going to do anything he can to get a bill passed that was named after him. The same time since Obamacare became law, the stock prices of U.S. insurance companies has gone way up. Some by 500%, some by 1,000%, because the money goes directly from the federal government into the insurance companies' pockets. And what the Senate Democrats and Chuck Schumer has held this country hostage now for well over a month, well over 5 weeks. What does he want to do? He wants to just send them more money for one more year. Let's just send them all the checks again for one more year. Republicans believe the taxpayer dollars should go directly to the people that are making their own decisions about health care for their families, not the insurance companies. Let the American people decide what works for them and their families. Remember, it were the Democrats who broke health care in this country. They broke it the very day that they passed Obamacare. And you know, Mr. President, recently the liberal New York Times stated the obvious. This was a headline Sunday a week and a half ago. Obamacare is pricey. Right there, headline, top of the page. Obamacare is pricey. Mr. President, I'm a doctor. I practiced medicine for 24 years in my home state of Wyoming. Chief of Staff of the Wyoming Medical Center in Casper, President of the State Medical Society. I'll tell you exactly what Obamacare is. It's a failure, it's broken, it's unaffordable. The American people know that. Now, Chuck Schumer and the Democrats want to spend and send another 30 or more billions of dollars to the insurance companies for the whole next year. This is a disgrace. It's not just a mistake, a disgrace. You know, Mr. President, there are Democrats that realize that Obamacare is a failure, failed to lower the cost of care, because just this week, on this very floor, Senator Peter Welch of Vermont admitted, quote, that Democrats did fail to bring down the cost of health care. You better believe they failed. We've been saying that for years. It's good to be here on the floor of the Senate with another physician who knows all of the same things. I know he's going to speak about this as well, Mr. President, because my question is, why are Senator Welch's Democrat colleagues holding our entire country hostage to double down on a program that they know is continuing to fail? It has failed and it continues to fail, and they want to send more money. Why are Senator Welch's Democrat colleagues holding the entire country hostage to double down on a law that has failed the nation with regard to our health care? From the start, Democrats started to realize it because they needed to paper over the terrible cost overruns that they saw with Obamacare, and they did it with juicy, permanent subsidies. When Joe Biden became president, Democrats said, oh my, it's getting worse. We better put additional subsidies on top of the already juicy subsidies that were there, just to try to prop it up. They did it to further hide the failures of Obamacare. Well, the end of the Biden COVID bonus payments, as I like to refer to these new juicy subsidies, the add-on subsidies, only about 4% of next year's projected 20% premium spike comes from that. And what do we see? We see these new subsidies. They didn't lower premiums. They continue to try to hide the real cost of the premiums. They shift the costs. And who do they shift them to? They dump it on the taxpayers. And that's what Chuck Schumer is trying to do today. Dump it onto the taxpayers and sending more money directly to the insurance companies and keeping the American people out of the equation completely. Today, taxpayers are paying 93% of the cost of Obamacare premiums. This is dramatic escalation from years before. And what did all of this extra spending by the Democrats buy? There's that much money floating around, Mr. President. The American people are left behind, don't have a right to look right at where it's happening. It brought waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption. Oh yeah, there's been corruption. Last year, the American people filed over 200,000 complaints with the federal government because they were unknowingly signed up or switched into Obamacare plans. So how could that happen? 200,000 people either didn't know it or were switched. How does that happen? Because it happened without their consent. You look into those situations, these people had to find out about it and then complain to the government. So there are people that actually got switched, still haven't found out about it. Well, insurance agents and brokers get paid every time they enroll someone in Obamacare. They do. Get something for that. So we know that some are actually criminally manipulating the system. And that's where we believe those 200,000 complaints have come from. People who have been maneuvered and manipulated without their knowledge. But Senator Schumer continues to promote keeping the government closed until his buddies from the big insurance companies, whose stocks have soared now under Obamacare, get another $30 billion or more injected right into their bank accounts. That's what Chuck Schumer came to the floor yesterday and demanded. Government staying closed until you guys all send $30 billion directly to the insurance companies. We know what people across the country believe about insurance companies, Mr. President. Would the American people trust themselves to make these decisions or trust the insurance companies to protect them? But that's what Chuck Schumer wants to do, keep the American people out of it. And meanwhile, federal workers have missed paychecks for more than a month. Military families are worried about rent. Air traffic controllers are overworked. They're exhausted. Planes are being canceled. Flights are being canceled. People are concerned about Thanksgiving. Enough is enough. Let's be clear with what Republicans are offering. We're ready to reopen the government today, make sure everybody gets paid who's been working without pay for the last 5 or 6 weeks by passing a clean, continuing bipartisan resolution. That means funding the government at current levels, so we pay our military families, we pay federal workers, We fund food assistance to 42 million Americans. Now think about that. That's 42 million Americans. That's more than twice the number of people in this country that are on Obamacare. Yet Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are willing to deny food to hungry children who outnumber the people on Obamacare right now by 2 to 1. That's what we're dealing with here. And not just once have they denied it, 14 times the Democrats have voted to not pay the working people and continue to pay, to continue to vote to keep the government closed. Mr. President, I know Republicans welcome a real debate about the many failures of Obamacare, because we believe Americans deserve quality, affordable health care, and they haven't gotten that with Obamacare. Reforms are needed that actually lower costs, that protect the taxpayers. The American people deserve a full debate about the unaffordability of Obamacare. Senator Schumer's offer does nothing to address the cost of health care, does nothing to lower premiums, does nothing to reassure the American people. All it does is make insurance companies richer and taxpayers poorer, and that is why it's dead on arrival. Republicans welcome the debate about having taxpayer money go directly to the American people versus this cozy relationship that Chuck Schumer wants to have with the insurance company, moving money directly to them. Mr. President, it is time to reopen the government. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor. Suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsbrooks.
Paul?
We,
I'd ask unanimous consent to terminate the quorum call.
without objection.
Thank you. So here we are on a Saturday, beautiful outside. Every day gets better for us. If you're trying to get through the airport today, probably not true. If you're working for the government not getting paid, not a good day for you, not a good day for us, not a good day for the country. This has been going on way too long, too many people being damaged for no good purpose. We're not going to be extorted, held hostage. You're not going to terrorize the country to make us do something that makes no sense. We'd like to work on health care, but we're not going to extend the debacle called Obamacare. So every day gets better for us. You need to ask yourself in America, is that true for you? I don't think so. Let me tell you who has a good day today. The healthcare insurance companies. In 2024, United Healthcare made $817 per day under Obamacare. So it's definitely a good day for them. Cigna, $677. Anthem, Elevance, whatever they are, $480 million. Centene, $447 million. CVS, $358. Humana, $322. And lowly, Molina, $112 million a day. That's what healthcare companies get under Obamacare every day. So when Senator Schumer says it gets better for us, I guarantee you every day we keep this system in place is a great day for the healthcare insurance companies who have been making out literally like bandits under Obamacare. In case this job doesn't work out for any of us, you want to go into healthcare business, big upgrade. United Health Group, CEO made $26.3 million. Cigna, $23.3. Molina, $21.9. Centene, $20.6. Elevance Health Anthem, $20.5. CVS, $17.8. Humana lagging the field at $15.6. These people are doing very well. The problem is, health insurance companies do great every day from Obamacare. All these healthcare CEOs are doing fantastic, but you, the consumer, not so much. You were promised when Obamacare passed in 2010, President Obama said every family in America who participates in this thing will have about a $2,500 savings in premium reductions. It's been like 100% increase. You just didn't miss it a little bit, you missed it a lot. This thing is unsustainable. Why do you call something the Affordable Health Care Act when every 5 minutes you're asking me and the presiding officer to dump $350 billion in it to keep it afloat? It's not affordable. It's never been affordable. The only people winning from this are healthcare insurance companies, CEOs, and it needs to stop. And why is the government shut down? The government is shut down because our friends on the other side are insisting we continue this program for another year. I'm not going to continue it for another day. I'm not going to pour tens of billions of dollars through Obamacare into healthcare insurance companies with the result being your premiums have increased by 100%. We're going to stop that. Would like to work with you to come up with a better deal. Here's the good news. It wouldn't take much to make it a better deal. But if you're wondering what kind of deal it's been for healthcare companies, United Healthcare Group, 1,177% increase in their stock prices since Obamacare. Look at these numbers. I mean, 822, 414, 490, 859, 604, 595% increase in stock prices after the passage of Obamacare. These are the big winners, not you. And we're going to break this healthcare cartel. We're going to take this money that's flowing to insurance companies, and we're going to try to get it directly to you, the consumer, so you can have more purchasing power and actually, over time, create more competition and lower your health care prices. something Obamacare is not doing. And to illustrate my point, I've gone from no charts to a bunch of charts. This is a big change in my life. Even I can understand that. That's like a rocket ship compared to the rest of the economy. So what have we discovered in the last few days? We have discovered that the subsidies under Obamacare are a windfall for insurance companies. We've discovered that every day we talk about health care as it is today, they're making a gob of money, hundreds of millions of dollars a day. We've learned that these health insurance companies have had stock increase prices unlike any other sector of the economy, and it all happened after Obamacare. They promised you lower premiums, your premiums have doubled. What's happened? The big winners, insurance companies, and the insurance companies are doing the Democratic Party's bidding. They're signing up people for Obamacare that haven't made a claim in 3 years. For every person they can find, they get money. So if they got incentive just to stack this thing with people, whether it's good health care or not. So what did President Trump say today? He said, he recommended to all the Republicans, stand your ground, break this cycle, take the money away from health insurance companies, and let's flow it to the people to give them more purchasing power and stop the money-sucking health insurance companies from taking tens of billions of dollars out of Obamacare. So the Affordable Care Act is not affordable. There is a better way. We're going to insist on that better way. And to my Democratic friends, we're not going to extend this program for a year because that would be unfair to the taxpayer. That would continue a health care system that's out of control. It would enrich insurance companies even more. We're not going to do that. We're going to replace this broken system with something that is actually better for the consumer to meet the goal of lowering health care cost. So you have to understand, terrorizing the public is not going to get us as Republicans to continue a very bad health care bill. We're not going to do it. We will talk to you, President Trump will, all of us will, about how getting better value is possible, how lower premiums is possible, but you got to change the fundamental precept of Obamacare, which is proven to be anything but affordable. That's like the Inflation Reduction Act. All it did was cause inflation. The Affordable Health Care Act has become unaffordable. Obamacare is growing faster than almost any other thing in health care because it's designed to enrich health care companies. The more people they sign up, the more money they get, and it's not about quality. It's about stacking as many people as you can under the umbrella of government-run health care, and apparently it doesn't matter if the government-run health care is working. It does matter to us. We would like to get a better return on investment. So I want to congratulate President Trump. He has gotten into the game today. He's given us a pathway forward. I'm going to heed his advice and counsel. I am not going to extend the unaffordable health care Obama health care program for another year, another day. There's a better way. President Trump talked to me this morning. He'd like to sit down and see if we can come up with a better solution. I know we can, but we're not going to do it while the government's shut down. This is day 37, 38, whatever day it is. Every day is hundreds of millions of dollars to these insurance companies. Every day we've shut the government down is families who work for the government have no money. We're hurting our national security. We're hurting morale. It's getting dangerous to fly. So stop it. End this madness. We tried to shut the government down to build a wall. We eventually built the wall because it's a good idea, but shutting the government down to build a wall wasn't a good idea. So I would urge you, my Democratic colleagues, keep working with us. Open this government. Let's find a way. to provide better health care that doesn't enrich insurance companies. Let's see if we can break this cycle of all the money going to insurance companies. They're getting filthy rich off this. See if we can take the money and actually give it to people to buy better health care, to lower cost and create competition. Mr. President, in case you're listening out there, I think you've come up with a good idea. Count me on board. To my colleagues on this side, this is a fight worth having. To my Democratic colleagues, let's open up the government and act like adults and see if we can get this problem in a better spot. We'll never do it with the government shutdown. The only thing that's going to come from the government shutdown is misery, pain, and heartache. With that, I'll yield.
President.
Gentleman from North Dakota.
Madam President, I'm pleased to join my colleague from South Carolina on the floor and really want to echo and emphasize what he's talking about. And that is that health care absolutely needs to be reformed. And as the senator from South Carolina said, that's exactly what the president has said. We've got to reform health care because medical inflation is going up like a rocket. And it is not going to change until we reform this health care system. And it starts with making sure that support goes to people so they have more control over their own health care. That is just common sense. And so I agree with my colleague from South Carolina, and certainly with the president's comment that that's the kind of reform that needs to be done, but it needs to be done when the government is open. And again, we are calling on our colleagues to join us, to vote, to open up government. The American people are suffering. We need to get back to work on all these issues. And that happens when they join us and vote to open up government. For more than a month, Democrats have refused to pass a simple, clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution. One that would simply keep government open and allow us to continue our work on all these things and on the appropriations process. Regular order, moving the bills through the way we should. And gee, this is something that they did 13 times during the Biden administration. 13 times during the Biden administration. And it wasn't just some of the Democrats that made these 13 votes. It was all of them. All of them. All of them. And now they continue to hold government hostage, and the American people pay the price. For more than a month, Democrats have put programs like SNAP at risk, jeopardizing support that 42 million Americans rely on to help put food on the table. For more than a month, Democrats have refused to support women and young children who rely on WIC programs for supplemental nutrition assistance. Emergency funding for that program is nearly exhausted. For more than a month, Democrats have refused to provide educational opportunities to the 750,000 children who participate in the Head Start program, many of which are in danger of closing soon or have already been shuttered. For more than a month, Democrats have refused to pay federal employees, including our military, our National Guard, air traffic controllers, and TSA agents, those who keep this nation safe. These individuals are maintaining critical services for our nation while facing major personal financial uncertainty. The Department of Transportation has been forced to order air service reductions across the country in order to protect the safety of the traveling public, as fed up and tired air traffic controllers continue to go without pay. The men and women of our armed forces are waiting in line at food banks and struggling to pay their rent. Madam President, the American people are suffering. This shutdown is not governing. Senate Democrats need to vote with us to reopen the government so we can continue our work on full-year appropriation bills. As I said just a minute ago, during President Biden's administration, Democrats passed the same kind of clean, short-term CR 13 times. Now they want to add extraneous policies just to keep the government funded. The Appropriations Committee has advanced 8 of the 12 appropriation bills with strong bipartisan majorities. We have passed 3 of those bills on the Senate floor with more than 80 votes, and we're ready to move on them today and to get back to regular order and the appropriations process, govern the right way, fund priorities, find savings to address the deficit where we can, and make sure we are doing our work on behalf of the American people. Madam President, it is long past time for Democrats to vote yes to reopen the government. It is time to resume governing on behalf of the American people. It's that simple. With that, I yield the floor. Madam President,
Gentleman from North Dakota.
I note the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll. Ms. Alsobrooks. Democratic Leader.
Ask unanimous consent the quorum be dispensed with.
Without objection.
Well, Madam President, the blast radius of the Republican shutdown grows even larger. This morning, tens of millions of Americans remain in limbo as this administration continues its crusade against SNAP. The Supreme Court has allowed the administration to withhold benefits as the case makes its way through the lower courts. For this administration to go all the way to the Supreme Court just to get out of having to pay SNAP benefits for hungry kids is pathological levels of vindictiveness. This crisis is in the administration's hands. It's all them, not anyone else. The minute the administration wanted to, it could find a fix for SNAP and ensure that people don't go hungry. But they're not choosing to act in what is really a nasty act of hostage-taking against the most vulnerable people in our society. Let me read what the Rhode Island judge said earlier this week about this case. Quote, "People have gone without for too long. Not making payments to them for even another day is simply unacceptable." Now, the administration could have said, okay, we'll have to pay it, but that wasn't good enough for them. Of course not. This administration, again, is viciously cruel and will use anybody for a hostage. But the chaos doesn't end with SNAP benefits. 39 days into the crisis, the FAA has ordered a 10% cut of flights at America's busiest airports, and Secretary Duffy warned it could soon reach 20%. As of this morning, over 1,000 flights have been canceled. Travelers are standing in line for hours just to get through security. Parents traveling to see their kids have had their plans turned upside down. People traveling for funerals, family reunions, business trips have all too often been met with chaos. But what's happening at America's airports right now is not an accident, it's a stunt. Look at the way the order was designed. 4% of flights canceled yesterday at 40 major airports, with plans to ramp up day to day until it hits 10% and maybe 20%. How much more transparently political can you get? This isn't about safety. It's about politics masquerading as safety. When air traffic controllers are working without pay, when the system is strained to its limit, the solution isn't to cancel flights. It's to pay the worker and open up the government, which the administration could do right now. As I understand it, under previous shutdowns, airports were never shut down. But again, the level that this administration, the level that they will go to, putting the American people in discomfort and worse, is unprecedented. Instead of negotiating with Democrats to lower costs, Republicans would rather let air traffic controllers go unpaid. Instead of negotiating with Democrats to reopen the government, they'd rather ground flights. Instead of negotiating with Democrats to help families, they're punishing travelers. Instead of governing, Republicans are playing games with people's livelihoods. And they have the ability to pay the air traffic controllers like they sent money, just as Trump sent money to Argentina, $20 billion. If they wanted to find the money, they could. Absolutely. So why? Why have Republicans dragged this shutdown on for so long? Because they don't want to lower health care costs. Because they seem happy to let 24 million Americans see their premiums double on average. Yesterday, we offered Republicans a perfectly reasonable compromise to get out of this horrible shutdown that they installed on the American people. We offered three things. We all vote to reopen the government. We all approve a one-time temporary extension of current ACA premium tax credits, and then after we reopen, we'll negotiate, as Republicans say they want, for longer-term fixes to ACA affordability.
Will the senator yield for a question?
No, only after I finish.
Okay.
I know many Republicans stormed out the gate to dismiss this offer, but that's a terrible mistake. Our offer is not a new policy. This is not negotiating in a shutdown. It's simply agreeing to maintain current funding levels. A one-year extension is something many Republicans themselves have said they want. It's something a great many Americans support. 55% of Trump supporters support it, after all. So it's alarming that Republicans even refuse to acknowledge we have an immediate crisis right now that needs fixing. Listen to the arguments Republicans have been making on the floor. Just listen. Republicans are making it clear as day that they are happy to let premiums skyrocket. Behind me is the consequence. Look at this across America in states red and blue. The black areas are districts that would increase subsidies, that subsidy costs would increase insurance payments for people would increase 300%, dark blue 200 to 300, and the list goes on. Look how bad it is. Every single state's impacted, most of all Republican states. Look, if Republicans want to talk about long-term fixes to ACA affordability, Democrats are ready. We said so yesterday. But in the meantime, doing nothing is derelict because people will go bankrupt, people will lose insurance, people will get sicker. And that's what will happen if this Congress fails to act. Republicans must act. I yield to my colleague from Ohio.
Thank you to the Democrat leader for yielding to a question. Have you put forward a proposal that we can read that you reference in your speech where it says a clean continuing resolution with the extension of the ACA Biden COVID credits?
Yes, as we spoke yesterday.
So there is
I will not be interrupted.
No, my question is there a proposal in writing that we can read?
There is a proposal that is very simple. First, you haven't put your proposed ACA, your proposed fix to the ACA, the new one, which Leader Thune has spoken about on the floor, so we can't give you a counter in writing. But it's very simple, because we have two sentences we would add to any proposal, which would extend the ACA benefits for 1 year. That's all, plain and simple. And the leader can put that in his proposal on opening up the government. So it doesn't need a vote. It can't be blocked by anybody. It's the right thing to do.
Would it still have no income caps? So people who make $1 million, $2, $3 million a year?
As we said, if he would have listened to my speech yesterday, once we pass the 1 year fix, so people right now aren't in difficulty, we would sit and negotiate that. The leader has said he won't negotiate before. We're willing to negotiate once the credits are extended, plain and simple. And we made that in our proposal yesterday.
So for 1 year, people making millions of dollars would still receive these COVID-era subsidies?
The bottom line is the senator from Ohio ignores that 99% of people, you want to hurt people making $10,000, $50,000, $90,000 and hold this up? We can fix what the gentleman said in a negotiation, but don't have people who are every day being hurt by paying thousands of dollars more that they can't afford. I know that the senator from Ohio cares about the billionaires. We care about average working people. I yield the floor.
So just to be clear, Ms. President.
Most recognized.
So just to be clear, what you heard from the minority leader was the following. I just want to recap it for those of you who might have missed. Number one, he acknowledged that the Democrats have actually not put forward a written proposal that people could look at. Number two, he acknowledged that his plan would be to allow millionaires, let me just say that clearly, people making millions of dollars would receive Biden-era COVID Obamacare subsidies. You heard that right. No income cap. I was going to ask him before he stormed out of the room, because evidently he doesn't want to hear any opposing views or actually engage in meaningful negotiation. He would have heard me ask the next question, Madam President, which is, would he continue $0 premiums, which we know for a fact have enormous levels of fraud? If he had stayed, I would have asked him a third question. Does he want these monies to go directly to insurance companies? Let me repeat that, Madam President, because I don't think the American people have been told the truth here. This money does not go to people on Obamacare. This is a check written from the federal government to the wealthiest insurance companies on the planet. He wants no income caps, millionaires getting COVID subsidies. He wants $0 premiums that are filled with fraud. And he wants to enrich insurance companies even more. And because he can't get that, here's the irony. There's federal workers, military, TSA, the clerks here that aren't receiving paychecks, that might get their health insurance canceled because we're not sending the premiums in. He's doing this to help people who have made millions of dollars already with his flawed health care system. And, Madam President, to make it worse, he admitted, right here on the floor of the United States Senate, the minority leader admitted that he has actually not submitted a written proposal to allow the Senate to consider. And let me just say one last thing, and I'll yield my time to the senator from Louisiana, who last night, I want to give him enormous credit. Honestly, phenomenal proposal. I love what you said, which is instead of sending this money to insurance companies, why don't we send it to the people directly? Let them be empowered to hold insurance companies accountable. Let them make the decisions. I find it laughable that he says, I'm for billionaires. I'm somebody who worked my entire life in a private sector, and according to financial disclosures, he has a higher net worth than I do, and he's been a politician his whole life. So I don't know the math around that. But I'll yield the floor to my great colleague from Louisiana, who sadly, by the way, the cameras don't pan the room. There's no Democrats here listening to what you're about to say. And you're here because you're a good man, because in your heart you want to fix this. They say that we won't negotiate with them. They want to negotiate with President Trump, which is funny because I look around, there's little plaques all over this floor. There's none that say Donald J. Trump. There's none that say that. This is a negotiation among the United States Senate. But they're not even here. Look, gone, empty. Maybe they're at lunch with some lobbyists. Maybe from insurance company lobbyists are taking them out and playing golf today. I would if I were an insurance company lobbyist. I'd be like, man, you guys are making me rich. Like filthy, filthy rich. And isn't it, and I'm going to end, I swear here. Isn't it ironic, Senator Cassidy, that we want to give the money directly to the American people, and they want to give it right into the pockets of the people who fund their campaigns. And maybe they even own those stocks. Things for people out there to listen to and think about. I'll yield the floor now.
Thank you, Senator Moreno. And I think Senator Moreno...
Gentleman from Louisiana.
Thank you. I think Senator Moreno, and frankly, Senator Schumer, they are reflecting the frustration the American people have. I'm going to give a speech which is substantially the same as what I gave last night, and I'll give it again later today. It's like TV advertising. I need people to actually listen to what I am saying as opposed to immediately presuming they know what I'm going to say, and we end in the same dadgum situation we've been for 39 days. We need to open the government. So, if we need to talk about health care to open the government, let's talk about health care. Now, and again, I worked for 20 years in a public hospital for the uninsured and the poorly insured. I know the consequences of this inflation that we have been having when it comes to health insurance. I know the impact it's having upon people as to whether or not, my gosh, can I even afford to keep it? So Congress, Senate, let's find a solution. But to find a solution, we have to put down the way we've always thought. The way that, oh my gosh, we are going to oppose if the other side proposes it just because the other side proposes. We've got to actually move beyond the entrenched way of thinking and be creative. So, and may I point out an irony here? Senator Moreno talked about irony. Right now, the Republicans are trying to return to the original ACA model in which money went straight to the patient, but not to the insurance company. At some point, it wasn't funded, and so the first Trump administration allowed a workaround, and that workaround has led to these high premiums. Democrats are going to the mattress to defend a workaround from the first Trump administration that was trying to make up for a portion of the Affordable Care Act that could not be implemented. They should be saying, let's go kind of back to the model of how the Affordable Care Act was supposed to be implemented. Instead, they're defending Trump 1 policies. I don't even know if they know that, but it's their, my gosh, I got to oppose just to oppose, that's going to defeat us getting out of this lockdown. So, let's just talk about the enhanced premium tax credit. Again, a program that sends billions. This coming year, $26 billion will go to insurers if all we do is a straight-out reauthorization. But that actually doesn't make health care less affordable. And in fact, even for health insurance, it can make the policies more expensive for many of those who are in the individual market. Now, let me make clear now. I am not, are we ready for a thing? And by the way, let me just show this chart as to the impact this is having upon health insurers. This is major health insurance company stock performance after the passage of Obamacare, from March 2010 to November 2025. For United Health Group, they're up almost 1,200%. For Cigna, 800%. And you can go down the line. Now, I'm not bashing insurance companies. We need them. But do we really need to send $26 billion more this year when we can send it straight to the patient? By the way, and we're not talking about doing away with every part of the health insurance program, just that portion currently being funded by the enhanced premium tax credits. And so when Senator Moreno talks about these dollars going to insurance companies, we can see the impact of that upon their stock price. It's done great. So let's maybe do something different. Let's, instead of worried about the pocketbook of the insurance company, let's worry about the pocketbook of our fellow American who's paying these higher costs. Now, instead of paying the insurance company to manage the care, my proposal is to have a pre-funded federal flexible spending account. Now, before I go into that detail, let's talk about the problems of the enhanced premium tax credits. And by the way, this is Bill Cassidy talking. This is not the chairman of the Help Committee. This is not the Trump administration. This is not the leader of the Senate. This is my proposal, and I don't attribute it to anybody. Although I'll note that the president apparently is in support. And right now I'm speaking to my colleagues, and I'm speaking to Americans who might be watching. Now, under the enhanced premium tax credit, if your insurance premium goes up, Washington just pays more. There's absolutely no incentive for the insurers to hold down cost, because the more it costs, the more they get. Think about that. The higher the health care cost, the more the insurance company gets. Now, they're not evil, but I will say there's a clear motivation here. If you're a profit-making company and you can be insensitive to how much that cost is increasing, you're going to be insensitive. We need to have incentive to bring the cost down. We need to have a transparency as to what things actually cost, and we need to reward families who actually try and save. I liken this to, you got a broken bone, you put a bandage on it, it doesn't heal the fracture, it just hides the broken bone. Let's fix the broken bone. We actually need to help the patient, the family, be incentivized to shop for that lower cost and incentivize the companies to lower the cost. So the enhanced premium tax credit, it doesn't empower patients. It enriches insurance company, and I will note that since this Obamacare passed, insurance companies have done very well. But the patient's health care has become more expensive, and it's now out of the reach for many families. Now, I got a tweet last night from one of my Democratic colleagues. No, we got to defend status quo. I'm thinking, and this person is a vociferous critic of insurance companies. And I'm thinking, will you just listen? As opposed to just reject. Listen. We don't want this $26 billion going to insurance companies where 20% of it is taken for administrative overhead and profit. We want it to go to the families where 100% is paid for health care. And not in some way which puts them at a disadvantage, but in a way which puts them at an advantage. And as opposed to discussing this over Twitter, let's actually meet face to face and see if you can be persuaded that this is a better way to go. So what can we do to break the model, to do something different? Can we, are we ready for the next one now? Now imagine a different, chart 2, please. Now imagine a different type of help, not an insurance subsidy, but a health account that you, our fellow Americans, control. Right now, where does the health care dollar go? In the enhanced premium tax credit, it goes to the insurance company. 20% is going to administrative overhead. That should read 80%, and 80% is going to pay for payments of care. So 20% for administrative overhead, you lose that, 80% to take care of payments. Here, we take that portion of the current payment the federal government is making that goes to enhanced premium tax credits, and we put it in a pre-funded flexible savings account. And the patient has an account. My wife and I have one of these. It works pretty well. And 100% of the money goes to paying for health care. And it can pay for the physician, the medicines, it can pay for dentistry and orthodontia. So in all this, you've got a 20% plus up in the amount available to actually pay for health care. Now, every eligible American citizen on the exchange would get this federally pre-funded. I keep stressing the pre-funded. In the health savings account my wife and I have, we're on an Obamacare exchange, we actually take a portion of our income and we designate it to go into the flexible spending account. But here, we would take a value equal to the amount the person would have otherwise received from the enhanced premium tax credit, and we put it in the flexible spending account. And it pays for real world expenses. I just mentioned it pays for dental care. It pays for eyeglasses. Keep in mind, many insurance policies on the exchanges don't pay for dental care, and they don't pay for eyeglasses. It's something extra that you have to purchase. In this case, the flexible spending account would allow that to be done. Prescription drugs, your routine medical services and preventive care. It does not go for premiums, though. It goes to the patient, and the patient then uses it as she understands, helps her family's budget the most. Now, by the way, let me just give a shout out to the president. He recognizes we have a problem. He knows the insurance market is broken. He put out a tweet last night favoring this approach. And you can't read this because it's too much language, but you see it's from Donald J. Trump, and bottom line is he wants money to go to patients and not to insurance companies. And the response to that from one of my Democratic colleagues was, oh, we're taking money from insurance companies. No, we're taking that portion that would be part of the enhanced premium tax credit, and we're putting it in a pre-funded flexible spending account. If people would just listen as opposed to automatically reject, and if people would realize that Democrats are defending a Republican workaround to something that Obamacare tried to do, but they wrote the language poorly so it couldn't be implemented, maybe they would stop and reconsider. Why am I part of this totally ironic situation where Democrats are fighting to the death, keeping the government closed almost 40 days because we want to defend Trump 1 administration policies? The irony here is incredible. So, the president's posting that we need to redirect these enhanced premium tax credit subsidy amounts to our Americans so that they can get their own health care. So, I agree with the president. We need to give the money to the patient and bypass the insurance company for this portion of what they would otherwise receive. Now, I've also been told, sounds great, Bill, but it sounds complicated. 72% of Americans working for a government entity, federal government, state, local, have access to a flexible spending account. 47% of those in the commercial market. Hundreds of millions of Americans have access to these accounts. My wife and I have had an account for several years. This is not complicated. Now, my wife and I are on the small business Obamacare exchange. It's not offered on the individual exchange, but it's offered on the small business exchange, the one that Congress is on. So, but the point is, we are already doing this. If you say it's complicated, you say it's complicated, and yet we're already doing it. So I'm not quite sure where the complication comes. It's like saying it's complicated to play a football game, but we've been playing football games every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. No, it's not complicated. We know the rules of the game. The players know who they are. They go out and they play, and we have a score. So, by the way, if there's going to be some bureaucratic obstacle to getting some rule change in order to make sure we can take it from one exchange to the other, even the people that hate President Donald J. Trump will admit that guy can get the bureaucracy to do things. If there's anybody in Washington, D.C. that can get something done when a bureaucrat says it can't be, it is Donald J. Trump. So you may not like the guy, but at this point, his strength is our strength, so let's use his strength to solve this problem if we can just get beyond an outright rejection, because the president might like it too. Now, And just one example. I'll hold that example just for the sake of time. So let me make clear the differences between the enhanced premium tax credits and a federally funded, pre-funded flexible spending account. Again, this is only the portion benefiting the patient that currently goes to the enhanced premium tax credit, which will be $26 billion this coming year. Who gets the money? Enhanced premium tax credit? Insurance companies. Under a pre-funded flexible savings account, patients and families. What can it be used for? Insurance premiums. For patients, real care. Doctor's visits, dentist visits, glasses, prescriptions, boom, real care. Who makes the decision? The insurance company? No. In the pre-funded FSA, it is the patient making the decision. And does it lower costs? No. Demonstrably, this enhanced premium tax credit has contributed to higher premium costs. Here, the patient is empowered to shop. If I can get my medical service, my mammogram, my MRI, cheaper here than there, I'm motivated to do that because it leaves more money in my pocket. That is called patient empowerment. Give the patient the power, dadgummit. By the way, if it turns out you can save money by paying cash instead of the negotiated rate from the insurance company, pay cash. That begins to lower it. But you would at least get the negotiated price. But now you also have the option of paying cash, and believe it or not, it is oftentimes cheaper to pay cash than to pay the negotiated price from the insurance company. So you save money, and the taxpayers pre-funding your account also saves money. That's the essence of giving a patient the power. She picks the best deal, just like she would for groceries, for a car, or for a house. Now, how does this empower consumers? The pre-funded flexible spending account doesn't treat someone as a dependent of the federal government like the enhanced premium tax credit does. It treats them like a capable consumer who knows what's best for their family, where to go for their dental work, where to go for their pharmacy, and how much to pay. The negotiated rate from the insurance company, or if you can find it, a cheaper cash price. And instead of Washington paying insurance companies to manage, the insurance company to manage your day-to-day care, you manage it, the patient manages it, the mama manages it with fairness, transparency, and flexibility. Now, by the way, some say, well, won't this cost more? It'll cost about the same as the enhanced premium tax credit, which should be something to appeal to my Democratic colleagues. By and large, we would take the same money going for the enhanced premium tax credit, and we would put it into these pre-funded flexible savings accounts. Now, we'd cut out the fraud. You save some money there, and some little bit and little bit. The second year, I think we would save money. I'd like to do this for 2 years, but this is up for talking, because people are going to start purchasing more wisely. Other reforms will kick in. But the point being, my Democratic colleagues, it'll cost about the same as far as I'm concerned. But the difference is, instead of 20% going to an insurance company's profit and administrative overhead, 100% is going for real care. So, this isn't just fiscally responsible, it is common sense. Now, as I conclude, let me once more point out the irony. The irony is the enhanced premium tax credits, you can draw a straight line back to the higher premium cost associated with the Trump 1 administration trying to find a workaround for a poorly drafted Affordable Care Act. And since then, premiums have gone up. And what my Democratic colleagues are fighting for to the death is to continue a direct result of that Trump 1 policy. And you could say there's some irony that Republicans are saying, let's go back to an original structure because it gave more money to the patient. I would like to say that's something that, as a Republican, I was always for. But I would say that currently the Democratic position is entrenched. Not all, but entrenched. If a Republican proposes it, if Donald Trump treats in favor of it, we have to reject it. All I'm asking is stop being a Democrat for just a second and be an American. Be an American who hadn't been paid for 40 days. Be an American who's paying too much for our health insurance and too much for our health care. Stop being a partisan and start being an American. I am ready to talk. Again, it's Bill Cassidy, it's not Trump, it's not Thune, it's not anybody else. But only when we begin to communicate are we going to find a solution that works for us all. Let's stop writing blank checks to insurance companies. Let's invest in the patients. And I'll finish by saying this. We got to open the government. We got to open the government. And once we do that, we'll have the people back that can finish drafting this. But we have to be willing to take a risk. We have to get out of our entrenched positions. And by the way, I'm going to get criticized for this, but we got to take a risk. And if we take that risk, if we're brave enough to do something different, then we're going to solve this problem. I'm a doctor, but most importantly, I'm a doctor who's an American that wants our country to be served by a Congress which is more concerned about partisan bickering than about the people back home. With that, I yield.
Will the senator from Louisiana yield to some very quick questions?
Yes, sir.
First question I have for you, senators. How many Democrat colleagues are in the chamber today, right now?
Unfortunately, none.
So zero, not one single Democrat is in the chamber listening, debating, having a dialogue with you. Question number two, if you're a union worker in my state, Ohio, do these Biden, Obamacare, COVID-era subsidies lower their health costs?
Absolutely not.
If you're somebody on Medicare, no matter where you are in America, do these COVID-era Biden, Obamacare subsidies lower your deductibles?
Absolutely not.
If you get private insurance through a small business like the one I used to own, do these Biden-era COVID subsidies lower your health care costs?
Does nothing to benefit those people you're describing.
If you're unfortunately somebody who is having a tough time and you're on Medicaid, you're disabled, children, do these Biden-era COVID subsidies lower your deductibles or your out-of-pocket costs?
No.
So none of the people I just mentioned, not union workers, not people on Medicare, not people on Medicaid, not people on private insurance, not unions that negotiated incredible rates. None of them will see lower health care costs. Am I accurate in that?
You're absolutely accurate.
Who stands to gain by the federal government writing a check for $26 billion to do what the Democrats want in order to open the people's government?
Well, insurance companies most directly, and there will be lower.
But just to be clear, the money goes directly to the insurance company, correct? Correct. It doesn't go through the pocket of the consumer. So if for example, I want to go find a doctor that's going to offer treatment for less money because my deductible's too high, this doesn't help me because I'm not getting the money. It's going to go to the insurance company, correct?
Correct.
And Senator, you're so smart on this topic, and you're the chairman of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. Is that true?
Correct.
Who was the previous chairman?
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders. Okay. Bernie Sanders was chairman when? Again, just to be clear,
last Congress.
Which would have been through 2024?
Yeah, for 2 years.
And the Biden-era Obamacare subsidies were extended in 22, is that correct?
Correct, I think that's right.
To expire in 25.
To expire in 25.
So who voted for the expiration date of 2025?
Not Republicans, rather Democrats.
So just to be clear, the Democrats voted to have these subsidies expire this year, correct?
Correct.
To your knowledge, was there a hearing last year in 2024 in which the Democrats got together and say, whoa, these Biden-era COVID Obamacare subsidies, we set them to expire in 25. We should really make them permanent or extend them. Was there a single hearing in your committee about that topic?
There was not.
So, wait, I'm confused. They set the expiration date at 25, and then they didn't have one hearing to say, my God, now how about in December of 24? They knew they lost the election. Did they have an emergency meeting in December of 2024 and said these Biden-era COVID Obamacare subsidies are going to expire. We don't know the Republicans are going to extend them. We need to do that. Did they add it to the continuing resolution that funded the government in December then, when they had total control of this chamber? Did they do it then?
They did not.
So this is a political stunt, and the American people need to see it for what it is. My career, I negotiated my whole life. Negotiations about leverage, would you agree?
Yep.
What leverage are the Democrats using in this negotiation?
Unfortunately, shutting down the government.
What does that mean, shutting down the government? Who's the leverage? Is it air traffic controllers that aren't getting paid? The Capitol Police that aren't getting paid? Yesterday, we tried to fund federal workers who are forced to work. Is that true?
Correct.
Democrats voted that down. Is that correct?
Correct.
Would you have a hard time walking into this building, Senator, and seeing those Capitol Police officers out there and your staff and knowing that you voted not to pay them?
I cannot imagine feeling good about that.
Knowing that you walked by TSA to go to your lobbyist retreat in Napa Valley, and you know that you are responsible for them not getting paid, that they're your leverage, SNAP recipients, Head Start recipients. They're using the American people's suffering as political leverage. That's how far gone the Democrat Party is. What you're offering would hurt insurance companies' pocketbooks, would it not?
Insurance companies will do pretty well no matter what.
But this would hurt their pocket.
But it would take $26 billion that would instead go to an insurance company, and instead it gives it to a family for the. I always use the feminine. Women make all the decisions in healthcare. It would give her the ability to make a best decision for real care for her family, finding the best value for her dollar. 100% of it would go to her, to all of those, and they would make a better decision.
Two final questions, and I will yield the floor. Our great senator from West Virginia needs to speak. $26 billion. $26 billion, a number that most Americans can't even conceive. The government is staying closed because Democrats want to give $26 billion more to insurance companies, and you're proposing to give that to the American people instead. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
Last question. The COVID Biden-era subsidies were set to expire in 2025 by Democrats. Did you know that when they had power, they set the EV, electric vehicle subsidies, to expire in 2032?
Wait. So just to understand, the EV subsidies did not expire until 2032, but this subsidy for people's health insurance expired this year.
Correct, and they were $7,500. You could lease a Rolls Royce, a Mercedes, a Lamborghini, and if you did that, the government will give you $7,500, Madam President. I want the American people to think about that when they understand how far gone the Democrat Party has gone. Thank you for your presentation.
Madam President.
Senator from West Virginia.
Madam President, while we're getting set up here, I want to thank my fellow senator from Louisiana who just spoke about an issue of health savings accounts, flexible spending accounts. You know what always gets me about the pushback on something like this, when people are going to be able to make their own decisions and have the money go to them rather than an insurance company, for some reason the other side always underestimates the real intellect and the real thoughtful decision making that go on in families every single day, no matter what your socioeconomic, how much money you make. They always underestimate the voter, and they're underestimating the ability of a family to make a decision about their own health care when they do that. So I congratulate him for his thoughtfulness, as always.
and really common sense and really simplicity of what he's really saying. So, if anybody's been outside today, and I know many of you are here working, unfortunately, it is an absolutely gorgeous day. Great day for football. Beautiful sun, not too hot, not too cold, gorgeous day. But for a lot of people, it's not a good day. A lot of people around this country are wondering when they're going to get to go back to work, when they're going to get paid, how they're going to feed their families, is their trip going to be canceled? All of this has been put on to the American people, and here we are again, day 39 of the Schumer shutdown. And what is there to show for it? Well, nothing, except a lot of pain on a beautiful day. The chart here, I'm going to put up here myself, is something that I think really hasn't been talked about enough, but it's really something we need to focus on because it shows the fairness of what's going on today. 13 times during the Biden era presidency, we passed this exact same bill, extending government. Some of this, the VV, is by voice votes. I voted for every single one of these, and so did many of my colleagues. 13 times. And so I think you have to look at the contrast of we've well exceeded this 14 times and probably will again, where we're getting total obstruction from the other side. So families are anxious about their paychecks. Federal workers are not sure when they're going to go back. Capitol Police, the folks here, many of the folks in and around the D.C. area, and many West Virginians, because we have a lot of federal employees, don't know where their next paycheck's coming from. I'm really concerned about our SNAP recipients, about whether they'll be able to put food on the table. We have travelers stranded in airports all over this country, and our air traffic controllers, many of them, are pushed to the brink. They're not getting paid. They've got a lot of anxiety about that because they have so many obligations, like many families. They can't meet the obligations. Veterans are facing delays as well. You know what? The American people do not deserve this. They deserve a beautiful day in the fall, watching their favorite football team, if that's what they want to do, or watching their grandchildren play soccer, and not have all of this put on top of them. So instead of ending the shutdown, the Democrats have come forward with their so-called offer, which is a one-year extension of the Obamacare Act subsidies. Well, let me make clear, as my colleagues have, this offer is just absurd. We've been doing this for 39 days, the government's been closed. 39 days. And yet this offer is supposed to be the bridge to the end. To me, that's just incredible. The plan is to give $26 billion handout to the insurance companies. Here's my second chart, which shows the revenues per day of insurance companies that do health insurance benefits through the exchange. I mean, it's not millions, it's hundreds of millions. And yet, the Democrats want to hand over another $26 billion. So who does it benefit? It benefits the wealthy. There's no fraud protections. It does nothing, absolutely nothing, to lower the cost of health care. And Dr. Cassidy made a compelling argument about that just previously. So while Americans are feeling the consequences of this shutdown, our colleagues' answer is to shovel $26 billion to the insurance companies. That's not compassion, that is fiscal insanity. So I had a conversation with my Democrat colleagues last night. And they said, well, you know, the insurance companies are saying that it's too late now for them to redo their insurance estimations because of what's going on. So or to make any adjustments, say if you want to bring the income down or you want to do no zero cost plans, it's too late. You know, I'm sitting there thinking, maybe that was the plan all along. Let's close the government for 39 days because now it's too late to make any adjustments. 39 days ago, with the government open, we could have been negotiating all of this. Our leader has sat there in the well every single day and offered to negotiate. The president has offered to negotiate. Many of us have, including me. Dr. Marshall here, Senator Marshall, has a plan that he's had in front of all of us. And yet we're now 39 days. So maybe that's the plan. Maybe that's the plan. Let's hold it out for 39 days so the insurance companies can get their $39 billion. And let's not forget what these subsidies are from. They're out of the COVID era. From the health care that they created and proudly call Obamacare, which none of us voted for. And these bonuses were never meant to be permanent. Never. Or they could have attempted to make them permanent themselves. So they set them to expire this year. And the irony that they want to have them expire next year, right before an election, is not lost, I don't believe, on any of us. So instead of doing their job and simply reopening the government, this is not a hard exercise here. This is open the government. They want to make these temporary giveaways permanent. They want to double down on the failures of Obamacare. We're not even talking about the cost of health care, hardly. That whole argument's getting lost on this. A system that they have admitted on this floor, has not been working, and it has irrational demands. Let's close the government for 39 days because now it's too late to make any adjustments. 39 days ago, with the government open, negotiate. Many of us have, including me. Dr. Marshall here, Senator Marshall, has a plan that he's had in front of all of us. And yet we're now 39 days. So maybe that's the plan. Maybe that's the plan. Let's hold it out for 39 days so the insurance companies can get their $39 billion. And let's not forget what these subsidies are from. They're out of the COVID era. From the health care that they created and proudly call Obamacare, which none of us voted for. And these bonuses were never meant to be permanent. Never. Or they could have attempted to make them permanent themselves. So they set them to expire this year. And the irony that they want to have them expire next year, right before an election, is not lost, I don't believe, on any of us. So instead of doing their job and simply reopening the government, this is not a hard exercise here. This is open the government. They want to make these temporary giveaways permanent. They want to double down on the failures of Obamacare. We're not even talking about the cost of health care, hardly. That whole argument's getting lost on this. A system that they have admitted on this floor, has not been working, and it has irrational demands. So these so-called premium subsidies, they don't lower the cost of health care. They simply shift the cost onto the taxpayer. And under the proposal, wealthy families, people making hundreds of thousands of dollars, would now qualify for taxpayer-funded health care. How many times have I sat on this floor and heard the argument from the other side that all we care about are millionaires and billionaires and eliminating taxes from them, when they themselves are putting $26 billion into the hands of very wealthy companies, but also individuals are able to take advantage of these. So how is that fair to a coal miner in Logan County, or a nurse in Mon County, or a teacher in Wheeling? It just plain is not. These West Virginians work hard every day. They pay their taxes. They expect government to live within its means. Well, not to say, they expect government to be open. Isn't that kind of a given here? Government to be open and not hand out big bonuses to big insurers or the wealthy. So meanwhile, because of this shutdown, real people are paying the price. My state of West Virginia, not just thousands of families and people, hundreds of thousands of people are losing their SNAP, have lost their SNAP benefit, which they rely on every month. So when I think about that, what do I think about? I think about the young mother who's maybe a single mother with 2 kids, who's working hard every day but can't get insurance through their employer. They're working hard every day. She's got to be frantic, so concerned about how is she going to care for her kids. That is just an excruciating thought for any mother to have. We have our seniors have the same thoughts, but these benefits are a risk because the Democrats won't do something simple like open the government. our federal employees, our park rangers, our mine safety, my mine safeties. I've got a lot of coal mines. Mine safety inspectors are very thin right now, not doing a lot of their work. People who keep our communities safe, they are forced to wait, to wonder, and to worry. And it is a worry. Family, we're getting ready, we're leading up to Thanksgiving. People make plans in advance. They don't buy their ticket the day before they fly. They make plans in advance. In our family, our kids are married, so one year we get Thanksgiving and one year we get Christmas. So we're making a plan a year in advance to when we're all going to get together and be able to share fun times with our families. But now we got long lines, we got canceled flights, and growing frustration. All this chaos and uncertainty is so avoidable. 39 days is shameful. Senate Republicans have made clear we are ready to negotiate. I mentioned that. The leader, many of us here, including myself, the president himself, we're ready to debate. We're ready to get into this. We're not going to negotiate until the government is open. That is such a reasonable proposition. And they will not take yes for an answer. I thought the irony that the Democrat leader used Senator Thune's words. Senator Thune, every time he talks, he says, take yes for an answer. And he tried to turn it on it, and I'm turning it back to him. You guys take yes for an answer and see where we are. I've talked a lot about the financial costs that this shutdown has brought forth on the American people, but there is a not-so-hidden cost here, one that's harder to measure. And that's the uncertainty and the anxiety that this is bringing to families and businesses across the country. Not to even mention what the international thought must be. What is wrong with these people that they won't open the government? This has got to be what the international community is thinking every day. So, the worry about where your next paycheck will come, when you'll be able to go back to work, when things get back to normal, when I can sit in the stands at my home football game and actually not have all these burdens on my mind. These costs can't quite be measured, but they are very, very real. So I have a hard time believing that my colleagues on the other side have truly grasped this impact. I don't know who they're talking to, but we're getting phone calls, personal conversations all day long talking about the cost of this shutdown. If they did grasp it, they wouldn't have dragged us out for 39 days. I've heard the news reports that some of them are feeling emboldened because of an election on Tuesday. So really? We're going to hold that young mother who's got those two kids, we're going to hold her hostage to whether she can feed her family because we have a political advantage? That is just a shameful thought in my opinion. But apparently, by their own words, it's real. You know what? There's no political advantage to a shutdown. I've been through so many of them. I voted many times to reopen the government. There's no political advantage to having our government shut. So I'm also a member of the Appropriations Committee, and I have to say, after many years of stagnant, we've passed bills out of committee, including my bill to fund the Departments of Health, Education, and Labor. It is historically a very challenging bill to pass, but we passed it out of committee with bipartisan support. It's waiting here to be brought up to the floor. We passed 3 bipartisan bills through the full Senate, and hopefully we'll be able to vote on those shortly. Leader Thune has fulfilled a commitment to bring these bills to the floor with more to come. Because you know what? That's what legislating is all about. That's what legislators do. So one of the great frustrations to me in this whole process is that the members who supported these bills in committee and on the Senate floor now won't allow us to move forward on these bills. So today I urge my Democrat colleagues, stop with the gimmicks, stop with the political advantage and the political theater, stop holding the government and the American people hostage to a partisan wish list. West Virginians don't want political gains. They want their government open, they want their benefits secure, they want their leaders focused on results. Let's reopen the government, let's restore certainty and sanity, and then let's let the hard work of reforming our healthcare system in a way that lowers costs and empowers patients. Patients and families. We could have been doing this for 39 days, by the way, but we can't until the government reopens. That's what leadership looks like, that's what government looks like, and governing, and that's what the American people deserve. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.